What exactly are the differences between being immersed in a game, presence, and the full dive experience? Stick around to the end of the video so I can share with you what those differences are, so you'll be in the know too. Hello Virtual Dreamers, Gregory here, and welcome to the Virtual Dreamers YouTube channel, the place where we show you exactly how we can use technology to make those wild, crazy anime, video game, manga, whatever dreams into realities. If you've been following the Sword Art Online, virtual reality, or gaming scenes in any real capacity, you've probably come across the terms immersion, presence, and full dive at some point. You might think that they mean the exact same thing, being in the game. But there's actually some pretty subtle nuances between each of the terms that kind of completely changes what they're actually referring to. To save you the trouble of having to figure out what those differences are for yourselves, I've taken the liberty of creating this video so you guys can figure out exactly what they are without having to go through the trouble. So make sure you slice that like button to show me how much you appreciate my effort here. Alright, you ready? Then let's lay down the groundwork and just go through each one of the terms individually so that we can figure things out. Let's kick this off with the first term, immersion. If you've ever been playing games a lot in the middle of work or just doing anything for any extended amount of time, you've probably experienced the sense of immersion at some point or another. It's that state where you're basically just moving and acting and performing without almost any consideration for what's going on in the world around you. This is immersion. It's been called by other things like having some flow or being in the zone. It's kind of referring to the same general concept. You're pushing out your attention from everything else to focus in exclusively on the one task that you're set about on, whether that's playing a sport, getting some work done, drawing, playing a game, or something along those lines. It can be very liberating and makes you feel pretty good when you're just completely killing it while you're playing a game or doing something. Because in order to really reach that state of immersion, you've got to be pretty good, or at the very least very intimately focused on what you're doing. So it's not really something that we can regularly experience using technology, since in essence it's basically our own minds throwing everything out and doing just one thing. So in a way, you could say immersion is basically really high concentration. Not exactly the same thing as being inside the game now, is it? Presence is a relatively new term, in the very least in the way we're using it right now, that refers to the phenomena that you experience when you're using a high-end virtual reality headset, like the Oculus Rift, the HTC Vive, or a PlayStation VR. In essence, what's going on with presence is that the senses that our body uses in order to formulate the picture of its place in the world, in particular vision really, are being controlled by the machines that we're using. It may not seem like it because you're just putting a screen in front of your face, but in essence, the way that these virtual reality headsets present the world inside of their scope is so reminiscent to what our body is expecting, just because of how great the field of vision is, the way that it follows around with our physical body movements. It just can't really help itself, and it figures, okay, this is what I'm seeing, it matches to what I'm feeling in terms of proprioception, so this must be real and I have to accept it. Even though you might consciously know that these things aren't real, your brain doesn't care what you think, and it has already subconsciously decided that what it's seeing and what it's observing are reality, which leads to that feeling of being inside of the game. You're immersed whether you want to be or not. At last, we have to address full dive, the term coined by Reki Kawahara in his work, Sword Art Online, to refer to the virtual reality type that is generated by the Nerve Gear and Atmosphere headsets inside of its canon. These headsets take over the brain by manipulating its activity using microwave signals. These signals manipulate the activities, preventing you from acting out whatever you're thinking, but still using that data in order to control your avatar, as well as completely immersing all 5 of your senses. Functionally speaking, full dive isn't really a reference to VR at all. It's more a reference to a technology type. That means it's achieving uninterruptible presence. Until somebody rips the headset off of your head or you log out of the game manually, you will not be able to escape that presence. Your body has forgotten about its real self or cannot access its real self, and thus your only option is to deal with the virtual world. That is what presence at the maximum stage is achieving. Now that we know what all three terms are referring to, let's answer the question at the beginning of this video. Are immersion, presence, and full dive the same? Of course not. There's a very subtle difference between each one that completely changes the thing that they're referring to. Immersion can happen with literally anything: reading a book, doing your math homework, washing dishes, breathing, literally, and you just completely zone out of reality. It's a very soothing experience, but we can't really compare it to presence or full dive in a virtual reality sense. Presence is the complete and utter takeover or hijacking of our brain's subconscious sense of place. That happens whenever we just completely overpower a sense using technology. So that is essentially a category or phenomena of experience in our world. Finally, full dive isn't so much a sensation as much as it is a technology that facilitates a type of presence, which is uninterrupted and maximum in quality. You get to experience the virtual world exactly as the real one, but the feeling of being there won't actually be all that different relative to a very good session using a regular presence set. But, of course, full dive is still the maximum form of that. So there you have it, everybody. Immersion is basically you not paying attention to reality. Presence is your brain paying attention only to virtual reality. And full dive is just a technology that lets you achieve uninterrupted presence. And we're done here, everybody. You have been informed. Thank you very much for watching this video. And please, if you want to help me out for sharing these videos, be sure to rate, comment, share, and subscribe the video. Seriously, you have no idea how much it helps when you do that. Follow me over at MarkystalVR on Twitter, or check us out over here on the Discord server. We have a lot of like-minded people in order to talk about things, virtual reality, gaming, anime, and all sorts of other stuff. We're actually going to be starting up some new stuff on the channel involving just planning out and figuring out how to create fancy stuff on a basic level for all of you who might not always be open or completely just paying attention to some of the things we can actually do engineering-wise nowadays, because honestly, there's a lot of cool stuff we can do that just isn't being done because, hey, it's not practical. But you know what? Even if a Gundam isn't practical, I still want one. So, yeah, we're gonna figure this out. Alright, everybody, that just about does it. Thank you again for watching this video. This has been Gregory, logging out.